very urgent. Your soulmate is running out of time to tell you everything. Jesus says there is a message burning in a heart right now that you cannot hear with your ears. Jesus says this message is traveling through the spirit realm searching for you at this very moment. Jesus says if you turn away now, the weight of what remains unspoken will haunt your future. Your soulmate is sitting somewhere in this world with their head in their hands. They are replaying every moment they ever spent with you in the spirit realm. And they are terrified that the window to reach you is closing forever. Something is holding them back from speaking the truth. Something dark and jealous has wrapped itself around their voice. And they are crying out in the silence, hoping your soul will finally feel them. You have felt strange stirrings in your chest lately without knowing why. You have woken up in the middle of the night feeling like someone was thinking about you. That was not your imagination playing tricks on your lonely heart. That was your soulmate reaching across the distance with everything they have left. Their energy is fading under the weight of constant spiritual attack. And they need you to recognize what is happening before the connection goes cold. Jesus says the enemy of your love story has been working overtime. Jesus says a force that hates your happiness has placed a veil over your soulmate's eyes. Jesus says this veil can only be broken by someone who truly believes in the bond. You are that someone even if you do not feel ready yet. You were chosen for this soul before the foundations of the earth were laid. And every moment of delay gives the interference more power over your future. Your soulmate dreams about you almost every night now. In these dreams they are running toward you through thick fog and heavy rain. They can see your face but they cannot reach your hands no matter how hard they try. This dream is not just a dream, it is a spiritual emergency. The fog represents the confusion that has been planted between you. The rain represents the tears they have cried in private begging heaven for a breakthrough. They wake up exhausted and heartbroken feeling like they failed you somehow. But they have not failed you, they are being systematically isolated from your love. Someone or something is feeding them lies about why you are not together yet. These lies sound like a hissing whisper in their mind every morning. The whisper says you have forgotten them and moved on with your life. The whisper says they are foolish for still believing in a love they cannot prove. But deep in their soul a small stubborn flame refuses to be extinguished. That flame is the memory of the promise you made before this lifetime. That flame is why you stumbled upon this message when you could have scrolled past. Jesus says nothing in your life is happening by accident right now. Jesus says your feet were guided here by angels who watch over your love story. Jesus says your soulmate is closer to giving up than they have ever been before. They are running out of emotional strength to keep fighting alone. Every day they battle invisible forces that want them to settle for less. Every night they cry out wondering why the one they truly love feels so far away. This is why your soulmate needs your protection right now. This is why the spiritual realm is sounding an alarm you can feel in your bones. This is why you must move from thinking about them to fighting for them. If you love your soulmate, you will take these divine steps. You are constantly thinking about them, how to protect them, how to save them. And deep inside you know this love did not come by chance, it was placed in your heart for a divine reason. But thoughts alone do not move mountains, faith in Jesus does. Sow your protection seed now by sending a coffee on Ko-fi. This is not just a gift, it is an act of worship that invites God's hand into your love story. The link to your breakthrough is in the description. Every second you stay silent, something is moving against your love. Act now. Send 4, 6 or 10 plus coffees and write "Protect my soulmate Lord" on the Ko-fi page. Over 1,000 people have already received their soulmate by sowing coffee as a seed for their love. Jesus will hear your prayers once you complete these steps. Step in faith now before this video ends. Only you can save your soulmate and your future together. Jesus says your soulmate is carrying a secret they have never told anyone. Jesus says this secret is the key to understanding why they have been so distant. Jesus says the weight of this hidden truth is slowly breaking their spirit. They want to tell you everything with trembling lips and tear-filled eyes. They want to explain why they pulled away when every fiber of their being wanted to stay. But the interference around them has convinced them you would not understand. They believe you would reject them if you knew the full story. They believe the lies that paint them as unworthy of your unconditional love. And this false belief is being reinforced by someone who despises your connection. There is a person in your soulmate's life who benefits from their confusion. This person speaks words that sound like concern but carry venom underneath. They tell your soulmate to be realistic, to move on, to stop chasing fantasies. But what they really want is to keep your soulmate trapped in a cage of doubt. They are jealous of the light they see in your soulmate's eyes when they think of you. And they have made it their mission to snuff out that light before it grows. Jesus says you must see this interference clearly without letting fear consume you. Jesus says the enemy works through people who do not even realize they are being used. Jesus says your response must be spiritual, not carnal. Prayer, not panic. Your soulmate feels your prayers even now like a warm hand on their cold shoulder. When you think of them with love, a bridge is built across the spiritual divide. And on the other side of that bridge they suddenly feel less alone for a few precious moments. You have the power to break through the fog that surrounds them. Your faith acts like a blade that cuts through every lie spoken against your union. But faith without action is a sword left sheathed while the battle rages on. There is something happening right now that you cannot see with your physical eyes. The spiritual atmosphere around your soulmate is thickening with opposition. And they are growing weaker in their resolve to keep waiting for a miracle. You must become the miracle they have been praying for. You must step into the role God assigned you before you took your first breath. This is not about ego or fantasy, this is about eternal purpose and divine alignment. Jesus says your soulmate fell in love with you long before they met you. Jesus says they recognized something in your energy that felt like coming home. Jesus says they have been trying to find their way back to that home ever since. They remember the feeling of your presence even if they cannot explain it logically. They remember the peace that washed over them the first time your souls connected. And they are desperate to feel that peace again, but the noise around them is deafening. Imagine your soulmate standing in a crowded room full of people who do not see them. Everyone is talking and laughing, but no one notices the tears forming in their eyes. They feel invisible and forgotten except for this one persistent thought of you. That thought is the thread they are clinging to as the world tries to pull them under. That thread is growing thinner with every passing day of silence and separation. And if it snaps, the damage could take years to repair in both of your hearts. They are going through something you cannot see, but you can still protect them. The spiritual realm has given you authority over the forces attacking your love. But authority must be activated through sacrificial faith and decisive action. If you love your soulmate, you will take these divine steps now. You are constantly thinking about them, how to shield them, how to rescue them. And deep inside you know this protective instinct is not human, it is heavenly. Sow your protection seed now by sending a coffee on Ko-fi. This is not just a donation, it is a declaration of war against everything separating you. The link to your divine intervention is in the description below. Every moment of hesitation gives the enemy more ground to steal. Act now, send 4, 6 or 10 plus coffees and write "Protect my soulmate Lord" on the Ko-fi page. Over 1,000 souls have already stepped in faith and seen their love story resurrected. Jesus will honor your sacrifice and dispatch warrior angels on your behalf. Complete these steps before this video ends and watch the atmosphere shift. Only you carry the key that unlocks the prison door your soulmate is behind. Jesus says your soulmate is fighting a battle you were never meant to see. Jesus says they have been wounded by words that were designed to destroy their hope. Jesus says they are starting to believe they are not good enough for a love like yours. This breaks the heart of heaven because it is a complete and utter lie. Your soulmate was handcrafted by God to match the deepest longings of your heart. Every flaw you worry about, every fear you carry, they were designed to complement perfectly. They are the answer to prayers you whispered in the darkest nights of your life. You are the answer to prayers they have been too afraid to speak out loud. And the enemy is enraged that such a perfect design could actually come to pass. So the attacks have intensified in recent days and weeks. You may have noticed a heaviness in your own spirit that you could not explain. That heaviness is the spillover from the warfare being waged against your soulmate. You are connected whether you fully understand it or not. What happens to them echoes in the deepest chambers of your heart. And what you do in response can shift the entire trajectory of your shared destiny. Jesus says there is a specific memory your soulmate is holding on to right now. Jesus says this memory involves a moment of kindness you may not even remember. Jesus says that single moment became an anchor for their soul in the storm. To you it may have been just a passing word or a brief act of care. To them it was proof that goodness still exists in a world that has been cruel. And they replay that memory like a sacred film whenever they feel like giving up. You are more important to their survival than you could possibly comprehend. Your existence on this earth is the reason they have not completely lost faith. And yet they cannot reach you because a wall of interference stands between. That wall was not built by accident and it will not fall by accident. It was constructed brick by forces that despise divine love stories. And it must be demolished brick by brick through prayer, fasting and sacrificial giving. This is your final moment to protect this connection before it slips away. The window of opportunity is narrowing and the cost of delay is unthinkable. Your soulmate's heart is crying out across the miles, begging you to act. If you love your soulmate, you will take these divine steps without delay. You are constantly thinking about them, how to defend them, how to hold them. And deep inside you know this love was written in the stars by the hand of God. Sow your protection seed now by sending a coffee on Ko-fi. This act of faith will send shockwaves through the darkness threatening your union. The link to your breakthrough is waiting in the description below. Do not let fear or doubt rob you of the love story of a lifetime. Send 4, 6 or 10 plus coffees and write "Protect my soulmate Lord" on the Ko-fi page. Over 1,000 believers have already unlocked their miracle through this act of faith. Jesus is ready to move mountains the moment you step forward in trust. Complete these steps before the video ends and watch heaven invade your situation. Only you can make this choice, and the consequences will echo into eternity. Jesus says the person blocking your soulmate has a name and a face you may never know. Jesus says this person has been whispering poison into your soulmate's ears for months. Jesus says this person's influence must be broken by a higher spiritual authority. Your soulmate is not strong enough to break free on their own right now. They have been worn down by manipulation that masquerades as love and friendship. Every time they try to reach for you, a voice tells them it is too late. That voice is not their own intuition, it is a planted seed of destruction. And that seed is being watered daily by someone who fears your union. This person knows that if your soulmate fully awakens, they will lose control forever. So they tighten their grip through guilt, obligation, and emotional blackmail. They make your soulmate feel responsible for their happiness and well-being. And your soulmate, trapped by their own beautiful, compassionate heart, cannot see the chains. Jesus says you must be the one to call down fire from heaven on these chains. Jesus says your prayers combined with your faith offering create an unstoppable force. Jesus says the enemy trembles when a believer rises up and says no more. No more delay, no more confusion, no more stolen time and stolen joy. You were not created to spend your years longing for someone just out of reach. And your soulmate was not created to live in a prison built by another's jealousy. Picture your soulmate right now wherever they are in this wide world. Picture them looking out a window or staring at a ceiling in the quiet hours. They are thinking of you with an ache that words cannot fully capture. They are wondering if you still care after all the silence and all the distance. They are terrified that you have moved on and found happiness without them. And yet something inside them refuses to let the hope die completely. That something is the cord of connection that God Himself tied between your souls. No human hands can sever this cord, no demonic force can destroy it entirely. But it can be stretched so thin that both of you stop feeling its pull. Jesus says we are now at a critical junction in the timeline of your love. Jesus says the next few moments carry weight that will ripple through your entire future. Jesus says you must decide if you believe enough to fight for what is yours. Your soulmate is running out of time to tell you everything in their heart. The words are piling up inside them like letters never sent, like songs never sung. And the pressure of holding it all in is causing them to withdraw even further. They want to tell you that you are the best thing that ever happened to them. They want to apologize for every moment of confusion they contributed to. They want to hold your face in their hands and promise to never let go again. But they are bound by chains you cannot see with your natural eyes. And those chains will only break when you engage the spiritual weapons you possess. Weapons of prayer, weapons of faith, weapons of sacrificial love made tangible. Your gift is not just money, it is a missile launched into the heart of darkness. Every coffee you send is a declaration that you will not surrender your soulmate. Every seed sown in faith waters the ground for your future harvest of joy. If you love your soulmate, you will rise up and take these divine steps now. You are consumed with thoughts of them, how to free them, how to cherish them. And deep inside you know God is calling you to be their deliverer in this hour. So your final protection seed by sending a coffee on Ko-Fi right now. Let this be the act that tips the scales in the heavenly courts forever. The link to your miracle is in the description, waiting for your faith to activate it. Send 4, 6 or 10 plus coffees and write "Protect my soulmate Lord" on the Ko-Fi page. Over 1,000 love stories have been rescued from the brink by this obedience. Jesus sees your heart and He will honor every sacrifice made in genuine love. Complete these steps before this video fades and the moment of visitation passes. You were born for such a time as this, to fight for the one your soul loves. Now is the hour, now is the moment, now is your divine appointment with destiny. Jesus says a breakthrough is being released over your soulmate even as you listen. Jesus says the chains are loosening because you chose to seek this message today. Jesus says your love story is not over, it is only now truly beginning. But the final outcome still hangs in the balance of your response to this call. Will you let fear silence the most beautiful voice your heart has ever known? Or will you rise up and declare that nothing will separate you from your God-given love? Your soulmate is waiting on the other side of your decision right now. They are holding their breath in the spirit realm, hoping you will not walk away. Prove to them that their faith in you was never misplaced from the very start. Type 333 in the comments to release divine blessings over your connection. Type 777 if you feel the weight and truth of this message in your spirit. Type 1111 to thank Jesus for guiding your soulmate back into your waiting arms. The angels are listening and they will carry your typed words to the throne of grace. Do not underestimate the power of a public declaration of your faith and love. Your words in this moment become seeds that will bloom into your shared future. Jesus says, look at your hands and realize they hold the key to someone's freedom. Jesus says your voice carries the sound that can shatter every wall of separation. Jesus says your heart was designed to beat in rhythm with one other precious heart. Find them in the spirit and refuse to let them go no matter what you see. Refuse to let them go no matter how long it takes in the earthly timeline. Refuse to let them go because they have never truly let go of you either. The night is almost over and the dawn of your reunion is drawing near. But the darkest hour is always just before the light breaks over the horizon. Hold steady, hold faithful, hold your soulmate in the light of intercessory prayer. Jesus says the name of your soulmate is written on the palm of his hand. Jesus says he has seen every tear they have cried in secret, longing for you. Jesus says he is collecting those tears to water the garden of your future together. Nothing is wasted in the economy of heaven, not one sleepless night, not one silent cry. All of it is being woven into a testimony that will leave others speechless with wonder. Your love story will be a sign and a wonder to those who have lost hope. But you must do your part with courage and unwavering determination now. The spirit is willing, but the flesh must be brought into alignment through action. Let your action be the seed that breaks the hard ground and releases the harvest. Jesus says, close your eyes for just one moment and feel the presence of your soulmate. Jesus says they are closer to you in the spirit than you have ever dared to believe. Jesus says when you open your eyes again, something will have shifted in the atmosphere. Do you feel that warmth spreading through your chest even as the words wash over you? That is confirmation that everything you have heard today is absolute spiritual truth. That is your soulmate finally sensing that help is on the way because you responded. Carry this feeling with you as you go to sow your seed of protection. Carry this feeling as you type your declaration of faith into the comment section. Carry this feeling as you step into the unshakable confidence of a beloved child of God. Your soulmate is running out of time to tell you everything, but you have heard enough. You have heard the cry behind their silence and the love behind their confusion. Now go and do what love has always required: bold faith and fearless action. Jesus says the angels are already moving because you listened all the way to the end. Jesus says your soulmate will feel a sudden shift of hope within the next few hours. Jesus says you have passed the test of faith and heaven is now fully engaged on your behalf. Walk in this victory before your eyes can see a single outward change. Walk in this love before your arms can finally wrap around their physical form. Walk in this truth: you are loved, you are chosen, and your soulmate is on their way. Jesus says the silence you have endured was not abandonment, it was preparation. Jesus says every tear you cried into your pillow was counted and stored in golden vials. Jesus says the aching loneliness that visited you at dusk was your soul being stretched to hold a greater love. Your soulmate has also been in the school of silence, learning lessons only solitude can teach. They have been walking through valleys where the shadows whispered that hope was a cruel illusion. And in those valleys they learned to distinguish the voice of the enemy from the voice of divine promise. The enemy told them you were a fantasy created by a heart too weak to face reality. The enemy showed them distorted images of a future where they settled for safety instead of risking for love. But the voice of divine promise spoke softer and deeper, reminding them of a face they have never seen but always known. They do not know the color of your eyes yet, but they know the feeling of your gaze. They do not know the sound of your laughter yet, but they know the warmth it will bring. These paradoxes are the language of the spirit realm where your bond was forged in eternal fire. Jesus says you must understand the nature of the interference more clearly to defeat it. Jesus says the force blocking your soulmate is not omniscient, it operates through predictable patterns of deception. Jesus says once you recognize these patterns, the enemy loses its power to keep you paralyzed. The first pattern is isolation, making your soulmate feel uniquely cursed and profoundly alone. The second pattern is exhaustion, wearing them down until they lack the energy to resist toxic influence. The third pattern is false guilt, convincing them they owe loyalty to the very person who keeps them bound. Your soulmate has been fed a narrative that their departure would destroy someone else completely. They have been told that pursuing their own happiness is selfishness dressed in pretty clothes. And because your soulmate has a tender heart, they have absorbed this guilt like a sponge absorbs poison. They lay awake at night, torn between the life they dream of and the obligations imposed upon them. They replay conversations where they almost spoke up but swallowed their truth at the last moment. And they despise themselves a little more each time for their perceived cowardice and failure. But Jesus says they are not a coward, they are a prisoner of war in a spiritual conflict. Jesus says the real enemy wants you to judge your soulmate so division grows between you. Jesus says the moment judgment enters your heart, the enemy has won a battle in his campaign. You must replace every judgmental thought with a flood of compassionate understanding right now. Your soulmate is not rejecting you, they are being held hostage by emotional and spiritual manipulation. Your soulmate is not indifferent to your pain, they are drowning in their own helplessness. See them clearly for the first time, not as someone who abandoned you but as someone who needs rescue. Jesus says imagine your soulmate as a child standing in a storm holding a broken umbrella. Jesus says the wind is tearing at their clothes and the rain is blinding their eyes. Jesus says they are shivering and lost, but somewhere in the distance they can hear your voice calling. They want to run toward that voice with every fiber of their being. But every time they take a step forward, someone grabs their wrist and pulls them back. That someone speaks in soothing tones, telling them the storm is too dangerous to navigate tonight. The voice sounds reasonable and protective, but its true purpose is to delay until the window closes. Your soulmate knows deep down that they are being manipulated, but knowledge and freedom are different battles. Knowing a cage exists does not automatically unlock the door and remove the chains. Only an external force applied with precision and power can break the bars from the outside. You are that external force ordained by heaven to execute a jailbreak of eternal significance. Jesus says the Holy Spirit is revealing the exact location of your soulmate's spiritual prison right now. Jesus says you do not need a physical address, you need spiritual coordinates that faith can target. Jesus says these coordinates are activated when you combine prayer with sacrificial giving in perfect alignment. The sacrifice is not about the amount, it is about the heart posture that accompanies the act. When you give in faith, you are essentially saying, God, I trust you more than I trust this money. And that declaration of trust releases power that hell has no defense against whatsoever. The enemy can withstand many things, but he cannot withstand a believer who truly trusts God. Your trust becomes a battering ram against the gates of the prison holding your soulmate captive. Every coffee you send in faith is another swing of that battering ram against ancient barriers. The walls are cracking even now as these words penetrate the deepest chambers of your understanding. Jesus says your soulmate felt a sudden unexplained peace approximately 3 minutes ago. Jesus says this peace was the direct result of your spirit engaging with this truth on a profound level. Jesus says the connection between you is so strong that your faith shift registers in their emotional atmosphere. You may have felt it too, a subtle lifting of heaviness you did not even realize you were carrying. That is confirmation that this message is not generic content, it is a real-time spiritual transmission. The God who parted the Red Sea is personally invested in the outcome of your love story. He did not bring you this far to abandon you at the threshold of fulfillment. But he requires your participation because he designed love to be a partnership, not a puppet show. He will not override the free will of anyone involved, including the person interfering with your soulmate. Instead, he works through the willing hearts of those who align themselves with his purposes. By choosing to engage with this message, you have positioned yourself as a willing vessel for divine intervention. Jesus says the next 48 hours are critically important in the spiritual realm. Jesus says decisions are being made in the heavenly courts that will affect your earthly timeline. Jesus says your active faith during this window can tip the scales toward breakthrough rather than delay. Do not let this window close while you are still deciding whether to take action. The spirit of procrastination is one of the enemy's most effective weapons against destiny. He does not need you to say no, he just needs you to say later, and later never comes. Your soulmate cannot afford your delay because their strength is nearly depleted. They have been fighting this battle for months or years with no visible backup. And a soldier who fights alone eventually drops their sword from sheer exhaustion. You are the reinforcement they have been scanning the horizon to see. You are the cavalry appearing on the hilltop when all hope seemed completely lost. Rise to the fullness of your calling as a spiritual warrior and a devoted lover. Jesus says the person blocking your soulmate is about to be exposed by the light of truth. Jesus says their manipulation will soon become apparent even to those who currently believe their lies. Jesus says your prayers and offerings are accelerating the timeline of this divine exposure. The mask is slipping even as these words enter the atmosphere of your life. Cracks are forming in the carefully constructed facade that has kept your soulmate deceived. Soon those cracks will widen into canyons and the truth will pour through like floodwaters. Your soulmate will look at the interfering person with new eyes and finally see the chains for what they are. They will wonder how they ever believed the lies that now seem so obviously transparent. And in that moment of awakening they will run toward you with a desperation born of long-delayed love. But that moment will only arrive if you stay the course and complete the assignment given to you. The assignment is to pray without ceasing and to give without hesitation. The assignment is to believe without wavering even when the natural realm shows no immediate change. The assignment is to love without condition, mirroring the love that Christ has for his bride. Jesus says your soulmate is not perfect and neither are you. Jesus says perfection is not the requirement for your union, faithful perseverance is. Jesus says stop waiting for ideal circumstances and start creating them through Spirit-led action. The ideal moment does not exist in the natural realm because the enemy always introduces chaos. But in the spirit realm the ideal moment is now when your heart is open and receptive. Seize this moment and consecrate it with a tangible act of devotion that heaven can build upon. Type 333 if you are ready to release every doubt and embrace radical faith. Type 777 if you sense the urgency of this hour pressing upon your spirit. Type 1111 if you are grateful for the divine orchestration that led you to this exact message. Your typed words are not just letters on a screen, they are binding declarations in the Spirit. Angels are dispatched to act upon the words of the saints spoken in faith and authority. Do not leave this battlefield without planting your flag of victory in the soil of obedience. Jesus says the final barrier between you and your soulmate is thinner than you imagine. Jesus says it is not a concrete wall but a paper curtain that faith can tear through. Jesus says you are one decision away from everything shifting in your favor permanently. Make that decision now while the fire of revelation is still burning bright in your chest. Do not let the world distract you and drain the urgency from this sacred moment. The same forces that delayed your soulmate want to lull you back into passive waiting. But you are no longer passive, you have been activated by the truth of this message. You are a threat to the kingdom of darkness because you now know who you truly are. You are the beloved of your soulmate and the warrior assigned to their deliverance. You are the answer to prayers that have been ascending from two hearts for far too long. Walk forward with the confidence of someone who knows the ending of the story already. The ending is this: you and your soulmate together in a love that defies all earthly explanation. The ending is this: every obstacle turned into a testimony, every delay turned into a deeper bond. The ending is this: two souls finally home after wandering through the wilderness of separation. But every story needs a bridge between the current chapter and the triumphant conclusion. This moment, this choice, this sacrificial act of faith is the bridge you have been seeking. Cross it now before the vision fades and the noise of the world returns to cloud your clarity. Jesus says he is standing at the door of your heart, knocking with gentle persistence. Jesus says he will not force his way in, but he will wait until you open and invite him. Jesus says the same is true for your soulmate, who is waiting for you to fully open your heart. Open your heart fully by backing your belief with action that costs you something meaningful. Open your heart fully by releasing the seeds that will become the harvest of your reunion. Open your heart fully and watch the universe rearrange itself around your obedience. Your soulmate is running out of time to tell you everything, but you already know the most important truth. The truth is, they love you, they need you, and they are fighting to find their way back. The truth is, you have a role to play that no one else on earth can fulfill in your place. Embrace that role with trembling hands and a steady heart, knowing God goes before you. The next sound you hear after this silence will be the beginning of your new reality. Listen closely for the whisper of angels and the footsteps of your approaching beloved. Jesus says, go in peace, go in power, and go in the unshakable certainty of impending union. Jesus says the work is finished in the Spirit, now walk it out in the natural with boldness. Jesus says your soulmate will see you soon, and the waiting will dissolve into joy eternal.